Our story starts with Drake, and how Kendrick Lamar's incredible momentum set the stage for his latest album, Some Sexy Songs For You. So Drake drops this new album on Valentine's Day 2025. This one's a team-up with Party Next Door called Some Sexy Songs For You. Was it just another Friday release? Or was this a calculated chess move in the biggest rap beef we've seen in years? Because let's be real, the backdrop to this album was that massive, super personal, and totally unavoidable feud with Kendrick Lamar, the one that basically had hip-hop and pretty much the entire internet hooked. A lot of people were expecting Drake to come out swinging, a lyrical bloodbath after everything Kendrick had thrown his way. What we got was, well, different. But don't let that fool you. Today we're breaking down how Kendrick Lamar's lyrical onslaught and his undeniable cultural takeover didn't just annoy Drake, they actually became the invisible force shaping the creative choices, the strategy, and even the marketing for Some Sexy Songs For You. This isn't just about who dissed who harder, it's about how one artist's sheer dominance made another rethink his entire game plan. So, let's really dig into Drake's mindset here. What if his biggest reaction to Kendrick wasn't a diss track, but the entire album itself? Forget a direct lyrical attack. What if Kendrick's biggest impact on Drake's album wasn't in the bars Drake wrote, but in the kind of album he decided to make? What if the fact that Drake didn't drop a ton of obvious disses was, in itself, the loudest statement he could make? A strategic shift forced by Kendrick's nonstop pressure? To truly grasp the situation Drake found himself in, we have to look at Kendrick's monumental run. To really get Some Sexy Songs For You, we've got to rewind a bit. The whole lyrical showdown between Kendrick Lamar and Drake was already cranked up through 2024, but it hit a whole new level with Kendrick's track, Not Like Us. This wasn't just another diss, it was a cultural moment. The song, packed with some seriously heavy accusations against Drake, shot to the top of the charts and pretty much became an anthem. Then came the Grammys. On February 2nd, 2025, Not Like Us cleaned up, grabbing a whopping 5 awards, including the big ones, Record of the Year and Song of the Year. Kendrick, already a massively respected lyricist, now had the industry's official stamp of approval for his takedown of Drake. This wasn't just critics loving it, this was like a public coronation. And if that wasn't enough, just a few days before Drake's album was due, on February 9th, 2025, Kendrick Lamar performed Not Like Us at the Super Bowl 59 halftime show. We're talking over 133 million people watching as Kendrick laid down those sharp lyrics, even if he had to censor some of the rawest parts. And to add to it, Drake's ex, Serena Williams, made a surprise appearance. He even kicked off the track with a little jab. I want to perform their favorite song, but you know they love to sue. A clear dig at Drake's legal battles with Universal Music Group over that very song. The tension was off the charts. Kendrick wasn't just winning, he was doing victory laps on the world's biggest stages. That was the vibe Drake was about to drop his new project into. Now, let's shift focus to Drake. How did he respond to Kendrick's overwhelming success? Let's talk about his counter move, the strategic drop of Some Sexy Songs For You. February 14th, 2025. Valentine's Day, just 5 days after Kendrick's Super Bowl moment, Drake and Party Next Door dropped Some Sexy Songs For You. The timing, bold, almost like a dare. Many saw it as a smart play to grab back the narrative, shift the focus, and cash in on everyone wondering what Drake would do next. Would he back down? Would he come out firing? Instead, he gave us sexy songs, an R&B heavy project, a collab that leaned right into his smoother lover boy image, a total switch up from the lyrical war everyone was bracing for. And you can bet this wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate move. Facing Kendrick's aggressive, critically acclaimed, and commercially huge diss track, Drake decided to play on a different field. And commercially, it was an instant show of force. The album absolutely smashed streaming records, reportedly pulling in an insane 92.4 million Spotify streams on its first day. That just edged out a record Kendrick himself had set only days before. It also became Apple Music's most streamed R&B/soul album ever for first-day streams worldwide. Some Sexy Songs For You hit #1 on the Billboard 200, making it Drake's 14th chart topper. This huge commercial win, right in the shadow of Kendrick's victories, sent a clear message. Drake wasn't done. He could still pull massive numbers, even if the critics weren't all on board. It was like he was saying, you can have the awards, I'll take the charts. Let's zoom in on Drake's lyrics. Did he just ignore the elephant in the room, Or was he playing a different game entirely on Some Sexy Songs For You? So, did Drake just pretend the giant Kendrick-shaped elephant wasn't in the room? Not exactly. While Some Sexy Songs For You mostly sidestep direct lyrical battles, you can definitely feel the Feud's influence, and Kendrick's specific digs, subtly baked into the album, especially on the track Gimme a Hug. On Gimme a Hug, Drake has lines like, "Drake elimination, fake intimidation." Funny how it's only some folks that are waiting on the boy's obituary, because if I die, it's these people that become the sole beneficiary. These feel like tired, indirect nods to the pressure and how the public was almost waiting for him to fail. He doesn't say Kendrick's name, but he doesn't have to. Everyone knew the context. Some people even read lines like, "Forget a rap beef, I'm trying to get the party lit," as him showing he was over the conflict. This indirect style is, funnily enough, one of the clearest signs of Kendrick's impact. Kendrick himself, on Euphoria, had called Drake out saying, "I hate the way that you sneak diss. If I catch flight, it's gonna be direct." So Drake sticking to subliminals and hints on Some Sexy Songs For You could be him just digging his heels in, refusing to fight Kendrick's way. Or maybe it was him quietly admitting that a head-on lyrical war, on Kendrick's terms, wasn't a fight he could win right then. That King Petty line on Gimme a Hug, as some pointed out, felt like a more direct, though still kind of playful poke at Lamar. The album became less about returning fire and more about propping up his own image. The star who bounces back, too busy for beef, just focused on his fans and making hits. He even seems to give himself a pat on the back with lines like, "Drizzy, you amazin', you the inspiration, you set the bar for the next generation," like a little self-pep talk with all the heat on him. This part is about Drake's sonic choices. Musically, Some Sexy Songs For You wasn't a radical departure for him, and that decision speaks volumes. Musically, Some Sexy Songs For You isn't Drake trying anything radically new. It's full of that atmospheric, moody R&B vibe, lots of talk about relationships, and that mix of singing and rapping that's been his signature for years. There's pretty much zero sign of Drake trying to copy Kendrick's more intricate, often jazz and funk-inspired, and socially aware style. Sticking to his usual sound is, in itself, a statement shaped by the Feud. Think about it. At a time when he was being lyrically picked apart and people were questioning his realness, a totally different sound might have looked like he was weak, or even worse, chasing trends. Instead, Drake went back to what he knows, his proven recipe. It was his way of saying, "This is me, this is what my fans came for, and I'm not going to be pushed into changing that." The whole vibe of the album, defiant but not really escalating things, confident it would sell well even if critics were mixed, feels like a direct result of the psychological battle with Kendrick. Instead of trying to match Kendrick's complex rhymes and open aggression, Drake shifted to areas where he's always owned, the charts, the clubs, and those late-night vibes. It's a smart move to play to his strengths when facing an opponent who had clearly highlighted some of his weak spots. This was Drake reminding everyone what his lane was, maybe even quietly admitting that Kendrick had locked down another one. Okay, let's talk about Drake and the marketing whirlwind. Whether he intended it or not, the feud with Kendrick became a massive promotional engine for his new album. Whether Drake liked it or not, the Kendrick Lamar feud basically became a massive free marketing campaign for Some Sexy Songs For You. The public was so hyped for Drake's answer. Every little thing he did was under a microscope, every possible lyric was being analyzed before the album even came out. And dropping it so close to Kendrick's Super Bowl show and Grammy wins, that guaranteed non-stop media buzz. This crazy level of attention also covered Drake's legal issues. Back in January 2025, Drake actually sued his own label, Universal Music Group, UMG. He claimed they defamed him and were putting profits first by promoting Not Like Us, a song full of serious accusations against him. Then, in April 2025, he updated the lawsuit to include Kendrick's Super Bowl gig and Grammy wins as more proof that UMG was supposedly damaging his image. This lawsuit, all happening out in the open, just added to the drama and kept both artists in the headlines, which, in a roundabout way, made people even more curious about Drake's next musical move. Those record-breaking streaming numbers for Some Sexy Songs For You weren't just because Drake has a huge fan base. They were blown up by a public desperate for the next twist in this epic beef. The feud turned the album release into a major event, a cultural moment you couldn't ignore. And Drake, being the smart marketer he is, definitely knew how to roll with it, even if he didn't choose the circumstances. Around this time, he was also on tour in Australia, making public comments about how resilient he was, a clear counter to the defeated picture Kendrick was painting. Finally, let's look at Drake and the aftermath. Even with a new album out, is the beef with Kendrick Lamar truly over, or are its echoes still shaping his career? As I'm recording this, the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar doesn't look like it's truly simmering down anytime soon. The tensions that shaped Some Sexy Songs For You are still very much alive in the music world. Drake's lawsuit against UMG is still going, with demands for all sorts of documents related to Not Like Us and Kendrick's contract. So, while Drake tried to change the subject with his R&B album, Kendrick's criticisms and the unresolved beef are still casting a long shadow over his career. The success of Some Sexy Songs For You was a win on the charts, but the fight for critical respect and cultural dominance, that feels far from over. So, what's your take? Was Drake's album a genius strategic sidestep, a low-key lyrical jab, or just him retreating into a comfortable vibe? I want to hear all your theories down in the comments. And if you're into more deep dives like this, breaking down the stories behind the music, definitely hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss what's next. So, wrapping this up, it's clear we're looking at Drake and how Kendrick Lamar's undeniable impact subtly but significantly steered the course of Some Sexy Songs For You. Kendrick Lamar's sway over Drake's Some Sexy Songs For You is a really interesting look at how artistic rivalries play out. It wasn't about Drake directly copying Kendrick or even launching a full-scale lyrical assault on the album itself. Instead, Kendrick's massive cultural presence and his direct hits kind of backed Drake into a corner. This forced a strategic answer that showed up in the album's release date, its shift in themes, its subtle lyrics, and even how it was marketed. Drake decided to fight on his own terms, on his home turf, but there's no denying that the battlefield he chose and the tactics he used were heavily influenced by the powerhouse opponent he was up against. The album shows Drake can still pull huge numbers, but it's also a complicated, indirect nod to just how much Kendrick Lamar shook things up.